Hello and welcome to the Weddings and Honeymoons podcast. This episode is in partnership with the Anguilla Tourist Board, and we are delighted to be speaking with two Anguilla experts, Amelia Vanterpool-Kubisch and Mimi Gratton. Together, they are going to share their vast knowledge of the island, as well as tips and advice for couples looking to plan their weddings, honeymoons, and romantic holidays in Anguilla. Thank you so much for being here today. So let's get started. Mimi, what is your connection to the island and how has Anguilla shaped your career?
Well, hello, Emily, and thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be on this podcast. Well, I first discovered Anguilla in 1993, and as they say, I never look back. I have had the great honor of living and working here in the tourism industry for those 30 years. And I guess as far as it's shaping my career, Anguilla has really kind of predetermined my life and my career path. I first started as the executive director of the Hotel and Tourism Association, in which I had the great pleasure of working with Amelia, who at the time was director of tourism for the Anguilla Tourist Board. And we worked together on many projects and we formed a fast friendship. And then fast forward, both of us kind of moved on and worked at some hotels on the island. And then I started Blue Sea Anguilla with some partners. And when we were looking to increase, our presence in the market and bring on some great staff, I always say I was very, very blessed that Amelia agreed to join our team. And that was many years ago. So Anguilla has meant everything to me as far as my career and my growth and, just the impact that we have made as a company in Anguilla. So it's a special place for me, for sure. It's my home for the last 30 years.
That's wonderful. What a special connection. And Amelia, over to you. Tell us about your Anguilla career story and passion for the island.
Well, thank you again for having us. I was born and lived here all of my life. And my journey in the tourism industry started way back in the late 1970s. So I'm aging myself here.
You're a child.
Yeah, this is when the island embarked on establishing itself as a tourism destination. And in 1991 or thereabouts, I was appointed Director of Tourism with the Anguilla Tourist Board. And this post I held for about 17 years. And thereafter, I went into the private sector, and as Mimi said, with one of the hotels, I did marketing and sales for a couple of years. And when that hotel, which I can say set the standard really for the island, it was owned by a British family, Maliohana Hotel. And I worked there for 2 years. It unfortunately closed. And in 2011, I joined the team at Blue Sea Anguilla as destination and events specialist with responsibility for weddings. So here I am still going on 12 years.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Here you are. And what makes Anguilla stand out from other Caribbean islands? So Mimi, over to you.
Well, that's a very loaded question, but for me, it's the authenticity of Anguilla. I've traveled to a lot of Caribbean islands in my years living here and even prior to moving to Anguilla. And as beautiful as the other Caribbean islands are, we are all very different. I know a lot of people sort of consider the Caribbean islands as one homogeneous region, but we all have something special and unique. And as far as Anguilla is concerned, obviously it's my home and that has a special meaning. But Anguilla is truly an authentic Caribbean island. I would say almost the Caribbean the way it used to be. We're still a very small, what most would consider in comparison to some of the larger islands. We are undiscovered. We are, still, not as developed. We only have about 15,000 people here. We have truly, and I can say this from the bottom of my heart, we have truly the most incredible people here. The most amazing beaches, the spectacular cuisine. I mean, there's a lot that has been said about Anguilla over the years, and it remains true. And even though Anguilla has grown, obviously, in size and capacity in the 30 years that I've been blessed to live here, it's still kind of that unique find. It's that place that you immediately feel at home, and you immediately are embraced by the people. And we are blessed to have so many folks come back as return visitors because they felt that they have discovered something uncharted, very special. So with all due respect to our neighbors in the region, I think Anguilla still resonates as that authentic Caribbean destination.
It sounds like a beautiful place and a very romantic one too, which leads me on to my next question, as Anguilla is an idyllic location for weddings. So what is the process for getting married there, and what's the typical setup like on the island?
Okay, I would say that the process is fairly easy and straightforward. Within 1 week of arrival on Anguilla, you can be married. To be legally married, a minimum of 48 hours, 2 business days that is required for the application and processing of the marriage license. That's if you want to be legally married on the island. The couple has to be present, valid passports, and proof of divorce degree, if necessary, are required. And the fee for the marriage license is just over $300. Alternatively, some persons choose to have their legal or civil ceremony at home, and this then can be followed by a ceremonial event on the island, which would not require an Anguilla marriage license. So the process is easy both ways. There is no really typical setup because each wedding is customized to the client's vision.
Wonderful. And it sounds like such an easy process for couples coming from nearby or from afar, and especially with experts like yourselves, getting a wedding prepared. It sounds really seamless. And I was going to ask about the kind of cuisine and customs that are popular for couples to incorporate in their weddings or to try on a romantic holiday together.
Well, as Amelia would have mentioned, in terms of the customs or the traditions, for the most part, because Anguilla is known as such an amazing beach destination, most of our guests and our clients, they choose to get married on the beach. And there are no restrictions as far as having access to the beach because the beaches are all public in Anguilla. So, people can easily get married at sunset or sunrise or, some of those idyllic settings. Having said that, the hotels on island do have, wedding planners or conference services managers that can also assist with wedding planning as part of the hotel packages. And so it's a little bit easier to have access to those beaches on a hotel property if you work through the hotels. But as far as, having access to the beaches and having these amazing ceremonies, Anguilla has 33 beautiful beaches, and we have done a number of ceremonies on a number of these beaches, and they all offer something unique and different. But another aspect of our island and, what is on offer, we have a number of really quaint churches. And sometimes we get requests, for couples to get married in these very idyllic looking quaint churches around the villages around the island. And we can make that happen. We certainly would have to speak with, the church in question and make those arrangements. But that is definitely a possibility. Other people, as Amelia mentioned, for the legal bits, as I like to call it, they sometimes even get married at the courthouse. So these are all opportunities that are available here in Anguilla, and it's easy to do. I mean, yes, we make it seamless, but the government has also established protocols that, in other jurisdictions, you sometimes have to be a resident on island for 2 weeks or extended periods of time. As Amelia mentioned, it's a 48-hour processing period 2 working days. So it's very seamless to get married in Anguilla. And as far as the food is concerned, well, we don't have all day, Emily. So Anguilla has an amazing array of cuisine. I mean, obviously, the theme for a lot of weddings are kind of that laid back, casual, elegant setting. If it's a beachfront setting, they may opt for, an elevated Caribbean beach barbecue, but that really only starts to tell the story about Anguilla. I mean, there are a good amount of our restaurants are waterfront, beachfront, and so we can arrange those things, through the restaurants. People can do, ceremonies and receptions right on the beach. We've done things out on offshore keys. We are known to have some of the more unique tourism settings where there's bar restaurants on these little sandbars that are good, at the most 20 minutes off the mainland. So we organize ceremonies out there, and it feels very Gilligan Island-esque. And so, there's people who've gotten married on boats. There's people who've gotten married, all over the island. So as far as traditions, Anguilla, opens its doors to all types of traditions. And, we just have to follow the legal bits. And then once that's done, the sky is the limit. And then, cuisine, again, I hate to belabor the point, but we really are a culinary destination. So whatever your heart's desire, it can be had here in Anguilla.
Wow, the possibilities really do seem endless. And tell us about your favourite wedding that you've planned in Anguilla.
That's a very difficult question. Having done,
it's like trying to pick your favorite child, Emily. That's almost impossible.
Yeah, just, having done many weddings over the last 12 years, from just for the couple or up to 150 plus, persons. But there's one I had in July 2022, and I'm mentioning this for 2 reasons. One, it was about 57 persons, and the parents and the couple, they were so easygoing, so very laid back. It was a 3-day event. So we had a welcome event on the beach, a beach barbecue with all the local staples, if you will, barbecue, chicken, ribs, your rice and peas and, salads and so on. And then for the rehearsal dinner, we had, again, on one of our beaches, a bonfire with s'mores and, very, very laid back atmosphere. And the wedding reception was very elegant at one of our restaurants. The couple, what struck me is that the father, he was a musician, as was his daughter, and they choreographed their dance, the father-daughter dance, which was so sweet. The father, he joined the band that was playing, singing, as well as playing the keyboards. And then when the band started, everyone from old to young just got on the beach and, got down. It was really, really, really a fun 3-day event. And I said I mentioned it for 2 reasons. This June, I was sitting at a restaurant with another couple reviewing their plans for their wedding. And a couple whose wedding I'm planning for November coming, 150 persons, walked by and started talking about, their experience working with us. And then immediately after, the father of this couple whose wedding I had done in July walked by, and he stopped and started talking about his experiences and really, really, just spoke about how easy it was working with, not only with Blue Sea, but with all the vendors that we, had to get together for their 3-day event. He really, really spoke so positively and highly of the island and of working with us. He has been coming here with his family for many years. And again, that is how, Anguilla is like everybody kind of, everybody. It sounds kind of cliche-ish, but that's how it is.
Oh, wow, that is so special. And I can just hear from your voice how magical that wedding was. But of course, Anguilla is also a honeymoon paradise. So what are the top things to see and do for couples?
Well, there's a lot. What I typically say though, when people in Anguilla, you can do a lot or you can do nothing. I mean, I always like to say that, Anguilla gives you permission to relax. And that's something we, in this day and age, do not really give ourselves permission to do. And so, one of the biggest assets, is when you get here, you really start to feel that unhurried pace. And so just sitting on the beach, sitting in a hammock, reading a book, I mean, that is a luxury for a lot of people. And so Anguilla really gives you permission to do that. But in terms of romantic opportunities or just for the couple, I mean, some of the top, I always say you cannot come to Anguilla and not get on the water. And that's why, when it came to finding a name for our company, for me, the reality is Anguilla's blue sea is really the thing that captures people's imagination. Today, in this day and age of photoshopping, most people think that the images they see of Anguilla are all photoshopped to make our water look that incredible. But it really is the most spectacular water you'll ever see. And so to get out there on a boat, charter a boat, do coastal excursion, go visit those offshore keys, go find a very secluded beach just for the two of you. I mean, that is really kind of tops my list as some of the most romantic things to do. Then, of course, there's the amazing spa services that Anguilla has, all the hotels and all of the spa therapists who come to your villa or, have something set up on the beach. And you just, arrange for a beautiful couples massage in an amazing setting. Truly, truly a romantic opportunity. And then another one that for a lot of people is a bucket list item is a sunset horseback ride on the beach. And it's not just horseback riding. You actually get to go in the water with the horses, and it's an experience we call swim with the horses. And for a lot of folks, that's one of those bucket list items. And so to do it with your significant other is really memorable. So for me, those are the top three most romantic opportunities, and experiences you can have in Anguilla.
The Blue Sea is considered a one-stop shop, if you will. So, we coordinate whatever the client wants, whether it's transportation, whether it's activities, your wedding, whatever it is, we can make it happen for them. In terms of accommodations, there is something for everyone. And that really is what it is. There is a range of accommodation facilities on the island. They are small, intimate guest house type accommodation, villas, hotels, budget, mid-budget, luxury, whatever you want, you can find on the island.
If I could just add, I think, the publicity or the promotion that Anguilla gets, what captures people's imagination and what we tend to be known for are these very high-end luxury resorts. We are a 5-star destination. And, the names like Four Seasons and Belmont, Capjaluca, and Mariahana, and Zemi Beach, Hilton Special Reserve, and the new Aurora Resort. I mean, those are ones that are always seen out there in promotions and media. And so people get the idea that Anguilla is only for, the people who have the means and, who are looking for a luxurious destination. But while all of that is true, what I've always loved and appreciated about Anguilla is that even though we are known and, those resorts kind of lead the way as far as promoting Anguilla, they set the tone in terms of the style and the standard. So, you can have a 5-star vacation staying at a budget property, if you know what I mean, because we have a number of mid-market or budget accommodations. They don't typically get the press, as we say, that the other properties do.
Like Shoal Bay
Like
Villas,
Shoal Bay Villas and Caramar and
Anguilla Great House.
Frangipani and Anguilla Great House. There's a lot of amazing and villas and kind of Airbnb options. Everybody gets to benefit from the incredible beaches. Everybody gets to benefit from the fantastic cuisine. Everybody gets to benefit from the laid-back lifestyle, the friendly people. You don't have to stay in a 5-star accommodation to really appreciate and take full advantage of all that Anguilla has to offer. So, it's luxury at every touch point, even if you're staying at a budget accommodation.
Of course, that's great, and it's wonderful that the island is open to all, and you can find those magic experiences in every kind of accommodation. And so, when would you say is the best time to visit, and which events on the island calendar would you recommend for couples to try?
Well, my personal favorite time of the year is in the spring months, when the heightened sort of what we call the winter season, the festive season, Christmas, when all of the visitors at that time of the year have kind of petered out a little bit, and the beaches are a little less crowded, although the beaches are never, ever, ever crowded. But, for us who live here, having 10 people on the beach, it's crowded, So it's nice to, and for me, the water is, I always call them like diamonds on the ocean. The way the sun hits the water in the spring, there's like this glistening that it looks like these diamonds on the water. It's really beautiful. So the spring for me is, really special. But, the government, the tourist board, other private sector folks, entities, they've kind of come up with some festivals and events and activities throughout the calendar year, so that, if you plan to come in the winter, if you come to plan spring or summer, there's something to see and do. And so I guess starting with March, when we have Moonsplash, which is a 3-day reggae concert put on by the inimitable Banky Banks over at the Dune Preserve. That is definitely a draw, and something that folks who want to experience an authentic Caribbean reggae concert on the beach, that is something to look for in the first full moon in March. And then at Easter time, we have an event called Festival Del Mar that really honors and celebrates everything related to the sea, because Anguilla is a maritime society. Boat building, it takes place in all of the villages around the island. We are a society of mariners, of fishermen, boat racing is our national sport. So, the sea and everything related to the sea is celebrated during the Festival of Del Mar, with all of the seafood and the boat races and the beach games. And then in the summer, we have our Anguilla Summer Festival, which is during the first week in August. And starts with the first Monday in August. And that's kind of, other islands may call it carnival, but because for us, we combine a celebration of carnival and our traditional boat races, we've combined the two elements and called it Summer Festival. So that's 10 days of street parties and concerts and boat races, and just, letting your hair down, and parades and costumes. If you can sort of conjure up the image of that Caribbean carnival, people dancing in costumes in the streets, that happens during that time in August. And then we have, some smaller events, but growing. We have the Anguilla Culinary Exhibition, which is now called ACE, which is just honors all, great food and all the cuisine on island, and that's typically done in May. So there's a lot of great festivals and events that people can participate in. But I like the festival of relaxation. So just, come down anytime and just enjoy, kind of the unhurried pace. And I think that festival is welcome year round.
I love that.
If I may just add, I think, traditionally weddings used to take place during June or thereabouts, but over the last couple of years, we've recognized that they throughout the year. One thing for us, while December to February, March is like the cooler time of the year, and people tend to think that during the summer months, June, July, August, it's not the best time of the year to come. But because Anguilla is so flat, there's always a breeze, except this year, I have to say, this year, right now, it's so hot, but it's hot everywhere, I think, right now. But yes, during the summer months, it's still pretty comfortable to be on the island.
Oh, brilliant. And there's so many ways to soak up the spirit of the island at any time of year. So that's great for all of our listeners to know about. And the final question, which is, how would you summarize Anguilla in 3 words?
It's funny because Amelia and I haven't shared notes, and I'm interested to see what her 3 words are. But I think I've actually mentioned these 3 words throughout this podcast. But for me, the 3 words that really define Anguilla are authentic, unhurried, and welcoming.
Well, I have one of those words.
30 years it had to be.
My first word is welcoming.
There you go.
Relaxing.
Yep.
And rejuvenating.
There you go.
You really are a fountain of knowledge on Anguilla and all that it stands for. So thank you for coming on our podcast and sharing all of these wonderful tips and nuggets of information for our couples planning their destination weddings and their honeymoons in Anguilla. So thank you for your time, and thank you to everyone for listening.